The ship was dying, and Commander Cole was dying with it. Red emergency lights painted the corridors in the color of blood. Sparks flew from broken wires. The air smelled of smoke and burning metal. Somewhere deep in the ship, an alarm was screaming but had stopped hearing it hours ago. He crawled through the wreckage of the UES Prometheus, dragging his broken body across floors covered with debris. His ribs were shattered. His left arm hung useless at his side. Blood dripped from a wound on his head and fell onto the cold metal beneath him. Behind him, through the shattered viewport, he could see the remains of the human fleet. 53 ships, reduced to floating pieces of metal in less than 6 hours. The Dominion had been thorough. They always were. Had watched his crew die one by one. Captain Torres had gone first when the bridge exploded. Lieutenant Park had died trying to save the engine room. Ensign Williams, just 22 years old, had pushed into an escape pod and taken a plasma blast meant for him. Now was alone, the last human in the Andromeda sector, and somewhere out there, beyond the field of broken ships and frozen bodies, the Dominion Armada was already turning toward Earth. He thought of his daughter, Maya. She would be 12 now. He had missed her last 3 birthdays because of this mission. He had promised her he would come home. He had promised her they would go fishing at the lake behind their house, just like they used to do when her mother was still alive. He would not be keeping that promise. But still he crawled, because deep in the ship something was calling to him, a distress beacon that should not exist, a signal that had appeared on his broken scanner just minutes ago, coming from the cargo hold. Someone was alive, someone needed help. Did not think about whether it was wise to answer. He did not calculate his chances of survival. He simply moved toward the signal because that was what humans did. They helped, even when it made no sense, even when it cost them everything. The cargo hold was a mess of broken containers and scattered supplies. Emergency foam had sprayed across half the room, trying to seal breaches in the hull. The temperature was dropping fast. Could see his breath forming clouds in the cold air. And there, in the center of the room, he found her. She was not human. That was clear at first sight. Her body was made of something that looked like liquid silver, constantly shifting and flowing. She stood nearly 8 feet tall, and her eyes glowed with a soft blue light that seemed older than the stars themselves. She was one of the elder races. Had seen pictures of them in his training. He had read reports about their civilization, which had existed for millions of years before humans learned to make fire. They were beings of vast power and ancient wisdom, and they had refused every request humanity had made for help against the Dominion. Humans were too young, they had said, too fragile, too temporary to matter. And now one of them lay trapped beneath a collapsed bulkhead, her silver form flickering weakly. Human, she breathed. Her voice sounded like wind blowing through crystal caves. You came. Looked at her. Then he looked at the heavy metal beam pressing down on her body. Then he looked at his own broken arm. Signal said someone needed help, he said simply. Did not say anything about it being one of you. He grabbed the beam with his good hand and pulled. Pain exploded through his body. His broken ribs screamed in protest. Blood flowed faster from his wounds, but he did not stop. "What are you doing?" he asked. There was something in her voice that could not identify. It took him a moment to realize it was confusion. "What does it look like?" He pulled harder. The beam shifted slightly. "I am getting you out." "Why?" The question made him pause. He looked at her glowing eyes and saw genuine puzzlement there. She truly did not understand. "Because you need help," said. "That is all the reason I need." He pulled again. The beam moved another inch. His vision was starting to blur. He knew he was running out of time, running out of blood, running out of life. "Your species will be dead within the cycle," they said. "The Dominion will reach your. There is no logical reason to spend your final moments on me." Laughed, it hurt, but he laughed anyway. "Lady, I stopped doing things for logical reasons the day I signed up to fly a tin can between the stars. One final pull. The beam shifted enough for it to flow out from beneath it. She reformed her body slowly, her silver surface rippling like disturbed water. Collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. His vision was getting darker at the edges. He could feel his heart struggling to pump blood that was no longer there. The stood over him. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at, like staring at a sunrise or a galaxy being born. She looked down at this broken human who had used his last strength to save her, and something changed in her ancient eyes. "I have lived for 17 million years," she said quietly. "I have watched empires rise and fall. I have seen stars born and die, and in all that time I have never understood your species." "We are confusing," agreed. His voice was barely a whisper now, even to ourselves. "You are dying." "Yes." "You knew you were dying when you came to help me." "Yes." "Why?" Smiled. It was a tired smile, bloody and broken but genuine. "Because dying while helping someone is better than dying alone. Because maybe you will remember this. Maybe you will tell others. Maybe the next time a young species asks for help, you will remember the dying human who saved you, and you will say yes." There was silence for a long moment. Then she knelt beside him and her silver hand touched his face. Her touch was cool, like water from a mountain stream. "My name is Covenant of Distant Stars," she said, "and I think, Commander Cole, that I am not ready to let you die." Wanted to ask what she meant, but the darkness was closing in now, and he could not find the words. The last thing he saw before losing consciousness was the soft blue glow of her eyes, and in them, something that looked almost like hope. When he woke up, everything would be different. But for now, in the dying ship surrounded by the graves of his friends, Cole slept and dreamed of fishing with his daughter by a quiet lake. Woke to the hum of machines and the soft glow of alien technology. He was lying on a bed that seemed to be made of solid light. Above him, silver patterns flowed across the ceiling like rivers of mercury. The air was warm and clean, nothing like the smoke-filled corridors of his dying ship. His body felt strange. The pain was gone. When he lifted his left arm, it moved smoothly, without the grinding agony of broken bones. He touched his ribs and found them whole. "I have repaired what I could," said a voice like singing crystal. Turned his head. Covenant of Distant Stars stood nearby, her silver form casting soft reflections on the walls. They were no longer on the Prometheus. This was somewhere else entirely, a small chamber filled with technology he could not begin to understand. "Where are we?" he asked. "A pocket of folded space, a hiding place." Covenant moved closer. "The Dominion is searching for us, for me, for what I carry." Sat up slowly. His body felt better than it had in years, but his mind was full of questions. "You said you were not ready to let me die. What did you mean?" Covenant was silent for a moment. Then she reached into her own chest, her silver hand passing through her body as if it were water. When she pulled it out, she was holding something. It was a sphere about the size of an apple, but it was not made of any material could recognize. It seemed to be made of pure darkness, a black so deep that it swallowed all light that touched it. Yet somehow, it pulsed with a rhythm like a beating heart. Felt drawn to it. Something inside him wanted to reach out and touch it. He forced himself to stay still. "What is that?" "This is why the Dominion attacked us," Covenant said. "This is what their emperor has sought for 10,000 years. We call it the Prometheus Flame." Prometheus recognized the name, the one who stole fire from the gods. "Your myths are older than you know. The first race, those who existed before even they created this object. They named it for a story that had not yet been told because they could see through time itself." Covenant held the sphere carefully, as if it might explode at any moment. "This is the fire of the gods, and it was meant to be stolen." "What does it do?" It grants ascension. Covenant's voice grew heavy. Anyone who consumes this sphere will be transformed. They will become something beyond mortal, beyond death, beyond the limits of flesh and time. Stared at the pulsing darkness, immortality. More than that, power beyond imagination, the ability to bend reality itself. The first race became beings of pure thought and energy. They left this universe entirely, moving on to planes of existence we cannot comprehend. Covenant paused. They left this behind for others, a gift, or perhaps a test. And the Dominion Emperor wants it. He has wanted it since before your species built its first cities. With this power, he would become unstoppable. The Dominion would rule forever. Every species in every galaxy would kneel before an immortal God King who could never be killed. Felt cold despite the warm air. He thought of Earth, of Maya, of the billions of humans who had no idea that their fate hung on this small sphere of darkness. Then destroy it, he said. It cannot be destroyed. Covenant shook her head slowly. It can only be claimed. Someone must consume it. Someone must take the flame into themselves and become its vessel. Then let one of your people take it. You are the elder race. You are the ancient ones. Covenant made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it carried no joy. We have tried, for millions of years we have tried. The crystal minds, the void walkers. Every elder race has offered their greatest champions, and everyone has failed. Failed how? The flame does not accept just anyone. It requires something specific, a quality of spirit that we do not possess. Covenant's glow dimmed slightly. We are old, we have lived so long that we have forgotten how to burn. We are cold and careful and calculating. The flame needs fire and we have only ash. Looked at the sphere again. It pulsed steadily, waiting. What happens if nobody claims it, if it just sits there forever? Then eventually the Dominion will find us. They will kill me. They will take the flame to their emperor. Covenant met his eyes, and everything ends. The silence stretched between them. Could hear his own heartbeat, strong and steady thanks to Covenant's healing. He could feel the weight of her words pressing down on him. You saved my life, he said slowly. You healed me when I was dying. That was not for nothing, was it? Covenant did not answer, but her silence was answer enough. You want me to try, said. You want a human to try. I want nothing. Covenant's voice was careful. But I have watched your species for a long time. You are young, you are fragile, you die so easily and so quickly. And yet, she paused, searching for words. You burn, even in your shortest lives, you burn with a brightness that we lost long ago. You love knowing you will lose. You fight knowing you will fall. You hope knowing you will be disappointed. She held out the sphere toward him. Perhaps that is what the flame needs. Perhaps it needs someone who knows what it means to be temporary, someone who has felt the fire of mortality. Did not take it, not yet. And if I fail, if the flame rejects me like it rejected everyone else, then you will die. Your body will burn from the inside out. There will be nothing left. And if I succeed? Covenant looked at him with eye that had seen civilizations rise and fall. Then you will never be human again. You will become something else, something alone, something eternal. Thought about that. He thought about Maya waiting for him on Earth. He thought about his crew floating dead in the void. He thought about the billions of people who would die if the Dominion Emperor claimed this power. He thought about what it meant to be human, to live fast and die young, to love with all your heart even knowing it would end in grief, to fight against impossible odds because giving up was worse than losing. Can I think about it? He asked. Covenant nodded. We have a little time. The Dominion has not found us yet. She placed the sphere on a pedestal of light, where it continued to pulse in the darkness. Watched it, feeling its pull, knowing that his decision would change everything. Outside their tiny pocket of hidden space, the Dominion Armada was moving toward Earth. The clock was ticking, and Cole had a choice to make. spent hours staring at the sphere. It sat on its pedestal of light, pulsing gently, patient as only something eternal could be. It did not demand. It did not call out to him. It simply waited like it had waited for millions of years. Covenant had left him alone with his thoughts. She understood that some decisions could not be rushed, even when time was running out. Thought about his life, 42 years of memories, his childhood on the farms of Kansas, where the sky seemed to go on forever, his mother teaching him to fish, his father showing him how to fix a broken engine with nothing but wire and hope, the day he first saw a starship and knew he would spend his life among the stars. He thought about Sarah, his wife, the way she laughed, the way she cried at sad movies but pretended she was not crying, the cancer that took her 3 years ago, slowly and painfully, while he held her hand and promised her everything would be okay. He thought about Maya, his little girl who was not so little anymore. She had her mother's eyes and her father's stubbornness. The last time he saw her, she had hugged him so tight that he could barely breathe, and she had made him promise to come home. He had broken that promise. He would never see her again, no matter what choice he made. If he took the flame and failed, he would die. If he took the flame and succeeded, he would become something inhuman. Either way, the father Maya knew was already gone. The door opened and Covenant returned. She moved like water, smooth and silent. "You have been thinking for 6 hours," she said. "The Dominion grows closer. I have questions. Ask them." Stood up and walked to the sphere. He could feel its presence now, like standing near a fire on a cold night. It warmed something inside him. "If I take this and succeed, what exactly happens to me? I need to know everything." Covenant was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was heavy with the weight of ages. "The flame will rewrite you at the deepest level. Your body will become something new, something that does not age, does not sicken, does not die. You will be able to bend space and time. You will feel the heartbeat of every star. You will hear the whispers of every living thing." That sounds like power. It is power, but it comes with a price. Covenant's glow flickered. You will feel everything, every death, every birth, every moment of pain and joy across the entire universe. The loneliness of a child crying in the dark, the terror of a soldier taking his last breath, the grief of a mother burying her baby. You will feel it all, always, forever. Felt something cold settle in his stomach. "And the isolation," Covenant continued. "You will live until the last star burns out. You will watch everyone you love grow old and die. Your daughter, her children, her children's children, 1,000 generations of your family, each one a brief candle that flickers and fades while you remain unchanged." How long? Trillions of years, perhaps longer. You will see civilizations rise and fall. You will watch entire galaxies go dark. And through all of it, you will be alone because there will be no one else like you. Closed his eyes, he tried to imagine it, watching Maya grow old, holding her hand when she died, then her children, then their children, on forever, an endless parade of goodbyes. "Previous candidates," he said. "You mentioned they failed, but some must have succeeded before, right? The first race used this themselves." "The first race were different. They took the flame together, all of them, so they would never be alone." Covenant paused. "But yes, there have been others who succeeded since then. A handful across millions of years." "What happened to them?" "Most went mad. The weight of eternity crushed them. They could not bear the isolation. Some destroyed themselves, finding ways to end their endless existence. Others simply faded. They from reality, becoming ghosts that drifted between stars, too broken to care about anything anymore." "That is not very encouraging." "It is not meant to be encouraging. It is meant to be true." Covenant moved closer. "I have to be certain you understand. Should you consume this, you will never remain mortal once more. You will never be the man you were. You will never hold your daughter as an equal, as a father should. You will become something other, something apart. something alone. Opened his eyes and looked at her. Are you trying to convince me not to do this? I am trying to make sure you know what you are choosing. The Dominion Emperor has sought this power for 10,000 years because he does not understand its cost. He sees only the power, not the price. I will not let you make the same mistake. And if I choose not to take it, if I say no. Covenant's silver form seemed to sag slightly. Then I will try to hide the flame somewhere the Dominion cannot find it. Perhaps I will succeed. Perhaps I will fail. But either way, Earth will burn. The Dominion fleet is 3 days away from your. Without the flame's power, nothing can stop them. Thought about Maya again. He thought about her birthday next month. He thought about the fishing trip they would never take. He thought about the life she deserved to have, the children she might raise, the old age she should reach. He thought about what kind of man he wanted to be, not for himself, for her. If I take this, he said slowly, I can stop the Dominion. Yes. I can save Earth. Yes. I can give Maya a future. Yes, but you will watch that future from outside. You will protect her, but you will never truly be part of her world again. Reached out and picked up the sphere. It was warm in his hands, warm and alive and waiting. I was already planning to watch my daughter grow up without me, he said quietly. The moment those Dominion ships appeared on our sensors, I knew I was dead. I made my peace with it. I accepted that I would never see her graduate, never walk her down the aisle, never hold my. He looked at Covenant with eyes that were wet but steady. At least this way she gets to have those things. At least this way there is a future for her to grow into, even if I am watching from far away, even if I am alone. He smiled, and it was a sad smile, but a real one. That is what parents do, Covenant. We sacrifice everything so our children can have more than we did. He raised the sphere to his lips. Covenant's voice was barely a whisper. Are you certain? Thought of Sarah, who had fought so hard to stay alive for Maya. He thought of his crew, who had died protecting Earth. He thought of every human who had ever given their life for someone they loved. I have never been more certain of anything, he said. And he swallowed the Prometheus flame without fear. The universe screamed. Or perhaps screamed. He could not tell any more. The line between himself and everything else was burning away like paper in a fire. The Prometheus flame erupted inside him. It was not gentle. It was not kind. It tore through his body like a storm of molten stars, rewriting every cell, every atom, every particle of his being. His blood turned to light. His bones became something harder than diamond. His mind expanded outward like a balloon being filled with the entire universe. He felt himself die. He felt every organ fail, every system collapse, every spark of life flicker out. Cole, human being, ceased to exist. And then he was reborn. The pain vanished. In its place came awareness. Horrible, beautiful, overwhelming awareness. He could feel Earth, 3 days away at faster-than-light speeds, but he could feel it as clearly as his own heartbeat. 7 billion souls, each one a tiny flame of consciousness burning against the dark. He felt a baby being born in a hospital in Tokyo. He felt an old man dying peacefully in his bed in Argentina. He felt a young girl in Kansas looking up at the stars and wondering if her father was still alive. Maya, he could feel Maya. She was sitting on the porch of their house, holding the fishing rod he had given her for her birthday. She was crying. She did not know why she was crying. She just knew that something was different, that the universe had shifted in some way she could not understand. Wanted to reach out to her. He wanted to tell her that he was still here, that he was still her father, that he would always love her. But he was changing too fast. The flame was still working on him, still reshaping him into something new. He felt the Dominion. The entire armada, millions of ships, each one carrying soldiers bred for war and cruelty. He felt the cold ambition of their emperor, a being who had lived for 10,000 years through science and dark magic, who saw other species as insects to be crushed beneath his heel. He felt the elder races, the in their crystal ships, the void walkers in their dimensions of shadow, the crystal minds floating through the depths of space, all of them ancient, all of them powerful, all of them watching this moment with something between hope and terror. He felt the stars themselves, each one a furnace of nuclear fire, burning hydrogen into helium into heavier elements, creating the building blocks of life and death. He felt the planets spinning around them. He felt the moons and asteroids and comets. He felt the vast emptiness between galaxies, cold and patient and endless. It was too much. No human mind could contain this much awareness. Felt himself slipping away, dissolving into the ocean of sensation. No. The thought was small but fierce, a spark of defiance in the infinite darkness. I am Cole. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a human being. I will not be erased. He grabbed onto his memories. Sarah's laugh, Maya's first steps, the smell of corn growing in the Kansas summer, the feeling of his mother's hand on his forehead when he was sick, the taste of his father's terrible coffee, every small, precious moment of his mortal life. He held onto them like a drowning man holds onto driftwood. And slowly, impossibly, the storm began to calm. The flame finished its work, the transformation completed, and Cole opened his eyes. He was floating in space. The hidden pocket dimension had dissolved around him, unable to contain what he had become. Stars wheeled around him in their ancient dance. Galaxies spiraled in the distance like flowers made of light. His body still looked human. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But his skin glowed softly with inner light, and his eyes burned like newborn suns. When he moved his hand, reality rippled around it like water disturbed by a stone. Covenant appeared beside him, her silver form pale against the backdrop of stars. "You survived," she said. Her voice was filled with wonder. "In 17 million years, I have never seen anyone survive the transformation with their mind intact." Looked at his hands. They seemed the same, but he could feel the power flowing through them. He could reshape matter with a thought. He could bend time with a gesture. He could create and destroy with equal ease. It was terrifying, and it was wonderful. "I am still me," he said. His voice resonated with strange harmonics, but the words were his own. Different, but still me. "How?" Covenant asked. "The others who succeeded, they lost themselves. They became beings of pure power, cold and distant and empty." Smiled. It was still his smile, warm and a little bit crooked. "Because I did not take the flame for power," he said. "I took it for her, for Maya, for all of them." He gestured toward the distant point of light that was Earth's sun. "As long as I remember why I did this, I will never lose myself." He turned his burning gaze toward the darkness, where the Dominion fleet waited. "They are 3 days from Earth," he said. It was not a question. He could see them clearly now, millions of ships moving through space like a swarm of locusts. Yes, too many for any fleet to stop, too many for any weapon to destroy. "I am not a fleet," began to move through space, accelerating without effort, "and I am not a weapon." "What are you, then?" Thought about it. He thought about Sarah, who had never stopped fighting even when she knew she was dying. He thought about his crew, who had given their lives to buy Earth a few more hours. He thought about Maya, waiting for a father who would never come home the same way he left. "I am a father," he said. "A husband, a friend. I am human." Covenant. Changed, yes. Different, yes. But still human where it matters. He reached out with his mind and touched every human on Earth. Not to control them, not to command them, just to let them know. "Hold on," he whispered into 7 billion minds. "Help is coming." On Earth, people stopped what they were doing. They looked up at the sky. They felt something warm in their hearts, something that felt like hope. They did not know where it came from. They did not know what it meant. But for the first time since the news of the fleet's destruction had reached them, they believed that everything might be okay. Maya stood up from the porch, her father's fishing rod still in her hands. She looked at the stars and smiled through her tears. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew you would not leave me." In the depths of space, Cole tore open a hole in reality itself. Light poured out, bright and fierce and unafraid. He stepped through it and the hole closed behind him. The Dominion had no idea what was coming. Covenant watched him go. She had lived for 17 million years. She had seen wonders and horrors beyond counting, but she had never seen anything like this. A human who had taken the fire of the gods and remained human. Perhaps, she thought, that was what the first race had intended all along. Perhaps the Prometheus flame had always been meant for a species young enough to still burn. She turned and began gathering the other elder races. Whatever was about to happen, they needed to witness it. The universe was about to change forever. The Emperor had conquered 11 galaxies. His name was the Eternal, and he had earned that title through blood and fire. For 10,000 years, he had ruled the Dominion with an iron fist, crushing any species that dared to resist. His scientists had found ways to extend his life indefinitely. His generals had perfected the art of total war. His priests had declared him a living god. Now he stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Annihilation, watching his fleet approach the small blue planet called Earth. Humanity, such a young species, such brief lives. They had only discovered faster-than-light travel 100 years ago. They had no idea what awaited them in the darkness between stars. They would make excellent slaves, the Emperor thought, or perhaps he would simply destroy them all. He had not decided yet. A censor officer approached nervously. They were a reptilian species, covered in dark scales, with eyes like burning coal. This one was young and clearly terrified of his master. "My Emperor," he said, bowing low, "we have detected something strange, a tear in space directly ahead of the fleet." The Emperor raised one scaled eyebrow. "A tear?" "Yes, my lord, it appeared from nowhere, and something is coming through it." The main flickered and changed. Where there had been only stars, there was now a wound in reality itself, blazing with white light, and from that wound stepped a figure. It looked human. One body, 2 arms, 2 legs, but it glowed with inner fire and its eyes burned like stars. The Emperor felt something he had not felt in thousands of years: fear. "What is that?" he demanded. Before anyone could answer, a voice spoke directly into his mind. It spoke into the minds of every in the fleet, every soldier and officer and slave. "My name is Cole. I was a human, a father, a commander. You destroyed my fleet and killed my crew. You were coming to destroy my world and enslave my daughter." The Emperor gripped his throne with clawed hands. "How are you doing this? What power is this?" The voice continued, calm and sad. "I did not want this. I did not seek power. I did not dream of conquest. All I wanted was to go home and take my daughter fishing." The first wave of Dominion ships opened fire. Thousands of plasma beams and nuclear missiles streaked toward the glowing figure. The Emperor watched with satisfaction. No one could survive that much firepower. No one. But the weapons never reached their target. Raised one hand and the missiles froze in space. The plasma beams bent around him like water flowing around a stone. Then, with a gentle gesture, he sent everything back. Not at the ships, at the empty space beside them, a warning. The Emperor felt cold sweat running down his scales. "I can see into your hearts," the voice said. "Every soldier in this fleet, I can see what drives them. Most of you fight because you are afraid, because the Dominion punishes failure with death, because you have families back home who will suffer if you disobey." Across the fleet, soldiers looked at each other with wide eyes. How did this creature know their deepest secrets? "I am not going to kill you. I am not like you, but I am going to show you something." And suddenly, every mind in the Dominion fleet was filled with visions. They saw the worlds they had conquered, the cities burned, the children crying. the families torn apart. They felt the pain of every victim, every slave, every species crushed beneath the Dominion's heel. 10,000 years of suffering compressed into a single moment of terrible clarity. Soldiers screamed. Officers collapsed. Ships began to drift as their crews fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the weight of what they had done. But was not finished. He showed them something else. He showed them what they could be, the potential in every heart for kindness, for love, for mercy, the futures they could build if they chose a different path, the peace they could find if they stopped fighting. "This is your choice," said. "The Emperor has led you into darkness, but the darkness is not who you are. You can choose differently. You can choose to be more." Across the fleet, something shifted. Soldiers who had followed orders without question began to wonder if those orders were right. Officers who had committed atrocities began to feel the weight of their crimes. Ships that had been preparing to fire on Earth lowered their weapons. Not all of them. Some were too far gone, too corrupted by power and cruelty, but enough to matter. The Emperor roared with fury. Kill him now. All ships fire everything." 100 loyal ships obeyed. The sky lit up with weapons fire, but did not retreat. He flew directly toward the annihilation, passing through the storm of destruction like a ghost through smoke. He appeared on the bridge, glowing so bright that the Emperor had to shield his eyes. "You cannot stop me," hissed. "I have ruled for 10,000 years. I have killed gods before." "No," said, and his voice was gentle. "You killed powerful beings who had forgotten how to feel. I am not like them." He reached out and touched the Emperor's forehead. Screamed. For the first time in 10,000 years, he felt the weight of his own actions. Every death, every cruelty, every moment of suffering he had caused came flooding back. He felt it all, as clearly as if it were happening to him. "Stop, make it stop." "I cannot," said. "This is who you are. This is what you have done. You wanted to live forever, now you will remember forever." The Emperor fell to the ground, clutching his head, sobbing with grief and guilt and horror. His guards stood frozen, unable to process what they were seeing. Turned to them. "Take him away, lock him up. He will spend the rest of his life facing what he has done." He looked at where Earth hung like a blue jewel against the stars. "And leave this world in peace. Leave all worlds in peace. The age of the Dominion is over." Behind him, the first human defense ships burst out of emergency warp. They were battered and outnumbered, but they had come. Every ship Earth could spare, racing to defend there. They found no enemy waiting for them. Only, floating among the drifting Dominion fleet, and a message that went out to every corner of the galaxy. "The war is over, go home." Covenant appeared beside him as the Dominion ships began to turn away. "You could have destroyed them all," she said. "With your power, you could have wiped them from existence." "Yes. Why did you not?" Watched the human ships approaching. He could see the faces of their crews, the tears of relief, the joy of survival. He could feel Earth below, 7 billion people celebrating a future they had never expected to have. "Because that is not who I am," he said. "That is not who we are. Humans do not fight to destroy, we fight to protect. We fight for the people we love." He smiled, and even now, transformed beyond recognition, it was still his smile. "Besides, killing is easy. Changing hearts is hard, but it lasts longer." In the years that followed, Cole became a legend. He did not rule. He did not command. He simply watched over humanity as they spread across the stars, protecting them when they needed protection, guiding them when they asked for guidance. He was there when Maya graduated from the academy. He watched from the crowd, just another face, and his heart swelled with pride. He was there when she got married, to a kind young man who made her laugh. He danced at her wedding, and no one knew who he was. He was there when she had children. He held her hand when she died at 97, surrounded by her family, at peace with the world. He wept and he continued. Generations passed, centuries, watched humanity grow and change and reach for heights they had never imagined. He felt the weight of eternity pressing down on him just as Covenant had warned. But he never lost himself, because every time he started to fade, every time the loneliness threatened to overwhelm him, he remembered why he had done this. For Maya, for Sarah, for Earth, for the future. The elder races watched him with amazement. They had expected the Prometheus flame to create another cold god, another distant power. Instead, it had created something new. An immortal who chose to remember, a god who chose to care. Millions of years later, a young asked Covenant of distant stars why the flame had finally found a worthy bearer in such a young species. Covenant smiled. It was an expression she had learned from humans. Because we offered him eternity as a warning, she said, and he accepted it as a promise. She looked toward the stars where was even now walking among his people, as human in his heart as the day she had pulled him from the wreckage of his ship. We saw mortality as a weakness to be overcome. Humans see it as a fire to be shared. And that fire, she paused, watching a human child laugh in the distance, that fire will never go out. And somewhere across the vast reaches of space, Cole felt her words and smiled. He was alone, he would always be alone, but he was not lonely. Because he carried humanity's fire inside him, and that fire burned forever.